Welcome friends in the next session of MOOCs in computer vision. Today in this session we will discuss human vision system, various components of human vision system, and then later we will discuss various components of computer vision system. Later we'll see how computer vision system is based on human vision system. So let's start. Computer vision is basically a science which will tell you that how information can be retrieved or can be collected from the images or sequence of images which we call an video. In computer vision, it's a fundamentals of how to recover the information, how to extract the information from the images and videos. As you can see in this slide, there are three main components of human vision system. The first is an eye, which is a sensor through which light enters in an eye. Second component is neural system, which will carry the information which is processed by an eye to the computer or to our brain. And the third, the processing, actual computing happens in a computer, which we call it as a brain. So three components of human vision system are an eye, which is a sensor, then neural system, which carries the information from an eye to brain, and finally the brain as a main processing unit. This picture shows anatomy of the human eye. We will find various components of an eye. We'll start one by one. This is a pupil through which light enters inside an eye, that is governed, that is protected by the lens. We have a next component as iris and a ciliary body which protects the eye, and it gives the protection from the dust and other components. There is a cornea as the next component which is outer covering of the human eye. The sclera also provides the protection. Choroid is a component in an eye which provides blood to the blood vessels, and the inside region is called as a retina. These are the main components of the human eye. The entire inside area of the human eye is called as retina. Along the retina, there are many sensors present, and here you will find an optical nerve. It's an important element through which the information collected in this region of an eye is carried out through this nerve towards the brain. Around retina there are many sensors, and the sensors are of majorly two types. The first type is rods and second type is cones. As far as rods are concerned, they are approximately 100 to 150 million, which are present in the inner region of an eye. These rods are non-uniformly distributed across the retina, and they are very much sensitive to low light levels, and this will lead as a scotopic vision of the human eye. The scotopic vision is also called as black and white vision. So we can say that the rods gives the human eye as a power of black and white vision. The next type of sensor is the cones. The cones are approximately 6 to 10 millions against the rods. These cones are very much sensitive to higher light levels, and the vision obtained from the cones is called as photopic vision or the color vision. So color vision is obtained from the cones. These cones detect the color by the combination of three kinds of cones which are sensitive to red, green and the blue frequencies. And as a combination, with the help of these three types of subcones which are sensitive to R, G and B, that is red, blue and green, we could see the combination of these multiple components to lead to any specific color, and that color can be easily recognizable by the human eye. Friends, the cones are of three types as we discussed: red, green and blue. The red cone is called as gamma cone, and the wavelength to which it is giving maximum response is around 564 to 580 nanometer. So typically 65% of all cones are belonging to the red cone. The next category of cones are green cone. They are also called as M cone or beta cone. These are sensitive to 534 to 545 nanometer wavelength, and 30% of all cones they are of green cone. Finally, the blue cones, they are also known as S cone or alpha cone, and their response is maximum at 420 to 440 nanometer. And out of all, the 5% cones are of blue cone. Here you will find a graph of normalized absorbance versus the wavelength, and you will find that a blue line is S cone, which is a blue cone or alpha cone, and its output is maximum at 420 nanometers. Next green line you will find, which is a M cone or beta cone, and its maximum response is noted at 534 nanometer. And the last line is called as L cone or red cone or gamma cone. Its response is maximum at 564 nanometers. We'll find a dotted line giving the maximum response at 498 nanometers, and this is belongs to the first category of the sensor. So dotted line corresponds to the rods, the response of the rods. This graph shows how photoreceptors are distributed inside the retina. You will find the response of rods which is at 0 degree, which is close to the optical nerve. The response is shown in this pink color, and the response and the distribution of cones you will find shown in the blue color. They are many in number, so they are varying in distribution from angle of around minus 80 degree to plus 80 degree. You will find a blank spot which is called as a blind spot at around minus 20 degree, because there is a presence of optic nerve, so there are no presence of photoreceptors in this region. There happens an interesting phenomenon in human eye which is called as brightness adaptation. So what happens if we see the perceived brightness, which is a graph on this y-axis, and the log of actual intensities on the x-axis, then the range of scotopic vision is in the lower side, while the range of photopic vision or color vision lies from the top to maximum at the bottom side. So this is called as adaptive range of perceived brightness. So whenever human eye observes any object, then all the intensities in a specific range of an eye, they are scanned, they are perceived, and then average of all those intensities is calculated, and that one particular intensity is perceived as the intensity of that specific region by a human eye. This concept is called as brightness adaptation, and it is a falseness that is present in the human eye because it does not correctly interpret all the intensities present in a specific region, but instead it will find the average of the group of intensities in a specific region, and that average brightness is perceived by an eye. So this is called as brightness adaptation. Let us explain the concept with the help of a matchband effect. You will find on this slide that there are strips of multiple intensities or multiple gray level, but in reality there are no such strips present. There is a uniform distribution of these intensities ranging from 0 to 255 is present, but because I perceives the brightness in a specific range, and it calculates the average and assigns that average intensity, and that is being perceived, and that is the reason why multiple strips or multiple patches of various intensities are seen. This is called as matchband effect. This is a famous Hermann grid, and it is a there are many dark small circles present. They are small squares are present. They are many in number, and what interesting fact you can observe is that at the periphery, at the center of every small square, you will find a dark spot, and in reality there is no such dark spot is present, but because of brightness adaptation and the Matchman effect concepts, the eye considers the average of intensities and that is being allocated, and that's the reason why that dark spot is observed at very multiple points, and this is called as a famous Hermann grid, with the help of which we can understand the concept of brightness adaptation. There is one more effect called as simultaneous contrast effect, and it refers to the way in which two adjacent intensities or colors they affect each other. You can see in this slide that there are four squares present, and in every square there is a small square present inside it as shown. As we'll find that this is square number 1, square number 2, square number 3 and square number 4. And what we perceive by our human eye is that the square number 1, the inner square especially, it is more bright as compared to small square number 4, it is towards the darker side. But in reality, small square 1 and small square 4, they are of the same intensities. It is only the perception of human eye, which is called as a limitation of human eye, that a simultaneous contrast it happens, and the color uh, of two different squares, even though they are same, they seems to be different. So that is a limitation of the human eye. The next component of human vision system is the neural system. The information is gathered by millions of sensors, which are rods and cones. Let us give every single information or every signal from a sensor as some names, say P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5. These are various sensor inputs. These are the information collected by the rods and cones, and then logarithmic of each response is calculated by the eye. So we get log of P1, log of P2 and so on. The human vision response is a logarithmic response, and this response is then scaled up and down by a suitable weight. So here the output of log P1 is given to weight W1. W1 is the weight associated with information signal P1 or sensor input P1. So either P1 is uplifted or downlifted in the value, or it remains same. Similarly, there are multiple weights which are assigned to every sensor input, and finally the addition of all these logarithmic responses with their weights are added, they are summed up together to provide the maximum and the final response of the eye. The third component of human vision system is the brain, where actual processing happens. There are two areas of brains which are important. The first area is called as associative cortex, and second area of brain is called as occipital cortex. In associative cortex, the links between objects are made. Like for example, if you find that there is one word written called HOT, actually while writing this word, it is not written continuously, but it is made up of some dotted lines, but still the brain processes it correctly and it recognizes the word HOT. So associative cortex, it establishes the links between multiple objects. And in occipital cortex, the patterns are processed. You will find that there is a famous illusion called as famous Zollner illusion. There are some lines which are drawn, and we can easily observe that these lines are not parallel lines, because there is a large distance over here and there is a small distance in this region. Again, the distance over here is small and distance over here is large. In practice, in reality, these are the false statement. All the lines which are marked vertically over here, they are all parallel lines, and they are equidistant from one another. But because of the processing of the brain, it happens that the lines are unparalleled. It seems like that. So in processing, most of the information is processed and is interpreted by the human brain, but most of the information may be correct and may not be correct. There are certain limitations of human vision system, and therefore there is a necessity of computer vision system where such drawbacks are eliminated to some extent and the accuracy is being improved. So in this session, we have seen components of human vision system. They are human eye, then information from human eye is carried with the help of neural system, which is the second component, and finally the brain, which consists of two major components. There are two cortex through which information is processed. There are certain limitations of human eye system or human vision system that we have discussed in this presentation. There is a need that these limitations should be removed, and therefore there is a requirement of computer vision system through which most of the drawbacks are being removed. So that's all for this session, friends. Today in the next session we'll see various components of computer vision system and how they are based on the human vision system. Once we understand how human vision system works, it's easy to understand how a computer vision system works. Thank you, friends. Thank you all.